Greetings and welcome to the Daily Devo for Tuesday, September the 26th. Today, our devotion is entitled Arrest and Execution of John the Baptist. Verses from Matthew 14, Mark 6, and Luke 3 will be included in the readings. The verse quoted today is Matthew 14, verse 3 and verse 10, kind of parts of both. Now Herod had arrested John, and from verse 10, and had John beheaded in prison. Advancing of God's kingdom is threatening to the powers that be because of the true moral nature of God's kingdom, because it's not about the powerful, it's about the weak and those in need. All of those things go contrary to what most humans are looking for, and so they use their power still, even today, to try and crush Christianity and the church. Herod Antipas was a son of Herod the Great, coming to power after his father's death in 4 BC. The Romans assigned Antipas the duty of ruling the districts of Galilee and Perea. Technically, he was not a king, but a tetrarch, Matthew 14:1, ruler of a portion of his father's kingdom. But he had enough of his father's hubris to claim the loftier title. This story highlights 2 character traits of Herod Antipas. First, his worldview was influenced by both his Greco-Roman education and Judaism. In this story, he was hosting his own birthday party, a tradition common in Europe, but not within Judaism. Yet he regarded John as a righteous and holy man to whom he enjoyed listening. Second, Antipas was a man guided by sensual pleasures. He fell in love with Herodias, the wife of his half-brother Philip. Seeing Antipas as the brother with the better political future, Herodias divorced her husband of 15 years and married Antipas. During the birthday party mentioned in this story, Herodias' teenage daughter danced in alluring fashion for Antipas and his male guests. This led Antipas to take an oath he would regret. He offered his stepdaughter the opportunity to ask for whatever she wanted. She asked for what her mother wanted: the head of John the Baptist served up on a platter. Why did Herod honor the request? He saw John the Baptist as a threat to his authority and his economic well-being. John had boldly attacked Antipas for marrying Herodias, criticism that threatened his status. In addition, soldiers and tax collectors found the message of John appealing. The advice John gave them threatened the ability of Antipas to enforce his wishes and compromise the collection of taxes. At first, Herod tried to control this perceived threat by having John arrested. In time, this was not enough. So, as the alcohol flowed at the party, Herod made a promise he was unwilling to reverse. This story, like Herod the Great's slaughter of the children in Bethlehem in Matthew 2, and the hearings before Antipas and Pilate in Luke 23, joins to illustrate that the coming of God's kingdom would often meet a forceful and violent response from the kingdoms of this world. That subject is somewhat approached in Jesus' after his arrest and the trials he went through. That was an accusation against him. He was undermining the Roman government. He was undermining the Jewish authority. He was speaking blasphemous things about tearing down the temple and being able to rebuild it in 3 days, not realizing he was talking about himself. Power does not like to be challenged. That's why when the prophets in the Old Testament spoke to power as they did, bringing God's word, God's message, God's judgment, words of judgment to them, it wasn't long before they found themselves martyred or arrested or banished or beaten or any other kind of thing like that. The evidence is clear in the scriptures. Being a follower of Jesus and speaking his truth, not his truth we take and reshape into our own truth. No, his truth, like the Beatitudes, like the Sermon on the Mount, like the challenge to those who questioned him. That comes with opposition. Our sermon this past Sunday, we read a verse that talked about the light. In John 1, the light has come into the world, but the darkness has not overcome it, hasn't overwhelmed it. And that's kind of an allusion to what will happen to the church, to the early apostles as they went out. The darkness is anti-Christian truth, anti-Christ, anti-Jesus, anti-God of the father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These are the realities. I don't anticipate getting my head cut off, but I do anticipate negativity. I do anticipate betrayal and desertion like Jesus endured. I came to realize that early on in my years of ministry, that what Jesus went through, I cannot expect that I won't. I cannot expect that I won't. And that's good to expect it, because at the end of the day, if you don't expect it, it blows you out of the water. And the reality is you will be deserted. You will be gossiped against. You will be betrayed. You will think that those who are your close friends will, all of a sudden you'll turn around. They're not there anymore. They've left you for something else or someone else. That's life in God's kingdom, lived in the middle of this world and its darkness and its hatred of those who live and speak the truth of God into the world. Not a happy story for sure, but it's reality. And again, it's what we need to be prepared for, and not let it confuse us or catch us off guard. Blessings to you today on this Tuesday.